I'm Hadaria Bahrun, Assistant Vice Chancellor, Internationalization, UiTM Global. UiTM International Strategy affirms our commitment in preparing today's youth and our country more broadly for a globalized world and engaging with international community to enhance education.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am delighted to be here today for the 5th ambassadorial lecture. We hope to develop stronger network with global institutions and organizations. Today's event marks a positive step forward, acknowledging and celebrating our partnership with the Embassy to develop stronger network with global institutions and organizations to place UiTM on the international scene and making an impact globally. The prime objective of having this ambassadorial lecture series is to enhance international networking between UiTM and foreign embassies in Malaysia.
The main focus of this event is to bring everyone on board and engage, educate, and empower. And this event will bring us together.
Professor John Sobro as our expert conducting the workshop with our students. This is truly a global effort, global exposure for our students, and we are hoping that the outcome of the whole workshop will be fantastic, where our students will become more global citizens.
I'm very pleased that the collaboration we started years ago is still going on, and this is what internationalization is all about. It's not universities working in silos, but universities working together, both local universities as well as international universities.
I do have hopes that through working through all the workshop participants and through the lecture and whoever comes to that they take away that sense of empowerment that we worked on. And maybe they take away a different way of looking at the world, because we need their viewpoint.
sky, the birds are flying, clouds are moving by. My heart is light. The moon will be my witness tonight. In my dreams I see myself fly. Terbang, terbang tinggi walau tanah di kaki. Kan ku carilah. Terbang, terbang tinggi awan biru menanti bersama pelangi.
I'm Jana Brady. I'm a lecturer from Southern Connecticut State University, and I've had the pleasure of bringing my students along on this trip and guiding them through it. And it's been really thrilling from my perspective to see students who, you know, are really far away from home and maybe aren't so familiar with this culture, watching them adapt and meet new people and try new things. And, you know, it's gone kind of good and bad in some places. Our own students who didn't know each other before are a family now, but also they've brought in, you know, the other students from the other schools as well, and that's been great to see.
This experience in general has just been one of the greatest things I will probably ever do in my life. I didn't think this was something that was available through university, especially a trip that was so broad in terms of the things it offered us. It offers things for people who do a variety of different courses, whether you study things like biology, zoology, conservation, whereas I study media production, which is not related to anything to do with what's on the course, but it's such a great insight to get a look into what other people do. I've met some amazing friends from university.
Yeah, I'm Zoe and I'm a student at Liverpool John Moore studying zoology, which means I'm crazy about animals, if you guys here hadn't already noticed. Being in the rainforest, waking up to nature and falling asleep to it has just been an absolute dream for me, and coming away from it, I feel that I need to come back, I need to do more, I need to get involved with the conservation work, I need to put myself out there and get involved with all of these amazing things that are going on in Malaysia. I loved meeting Jaden, he was just the cutest, and I don't think I'll forget his cute little face anytime soon.
We will push the boundaries together through our networking activities, and I hope this program will encourage you to think globally.
Not only to improve your language skills, but also to deepen your friendships.
1, 2, 3, smile.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Good morning from sunny Malaysia. Good evening to participants from the United States. And good afternoon to all friends from other parts of the globe. I'm Zainab, your moderator for today's webinar, Salam Merdeka Malaysia Prihatin. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar, the Merdeka Voices and Internationalization of UiTM's, Odyssey around the world. We are live from the UiTM Global Institute at the University of Technology, Mara. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. Before we move on, just a very brief scene setting for all the participants out there. That very much the event today is scheduled for about a good 2 hours, but I promise you the good 2 hours will go very fast. Before you know it, we'll come to the end. And a very exciting panelists that we have today. All of them, the distinguished panelists from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and also the United States of America today to share their insights through their lenses about University Technology Mara, the journey of internationalization, and what UiTM is today as a comprehensive university, synonym with Malaysia's 64th Independence Day. So with that, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me now in inviting the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara, Yang Berbahagia Professor T.S. Dr. Roziah Muhammad Janur, to deliver the welcoming remarks. I think that should be coming from the Chancellery building. So there might be a slight technical connection probably from the Chancellery to get Prof. Roziah live now. So in the meantime, I will be more than happy to probably get us going here. All right. So perhaps for all the panelists, as I mentioned, also to our audience out there, that we have a very special lineup for all of you. And of course, we would like to also, yeah, I think I was told in 5 minutes. It's all right. So that Yang Amat Berhormat Tun Asha Ayub, all right, would have loved to be with us, but due to an unforeseen circumstance today, that Tun is not able to be with us. But Ton's spirit on the journey of internationalization of UiTM, the humble beginnings of UiTM as a training institute as early as 1956, and then the beginning of UiTM's internationalization partner with Ohio University. So we should all be able to hear from our panelists when it comes to the topic of discussion today. And I'm sure also, we are very happy to note about the current status of our international students. All right, the largest group of international students currently at UiTM, we have students from mainland China. And of course, for Dr. Yuliandri, followed by students from Indonesia. All right, it's our second largest group of international students. So we're very happy with that. And of course, currently we have close to 1,000 international students. Not everyone here in Malaysia due to the pandemic. And the majority of them is actually back home in their country. So I should be getting a cue now that Professor Dr. Roziah will be joining us on this platform. So, Professor Dr. Rosia, we are very aware that Professor Dr. Rosia has a very full schedule this morning and all the way for the whole day. And I'm sure her being able to join us should be definitely enlighten our spirit with regards to UiTM's internationalization and also the way forward with ranking and the reputation, overall reputation of UiTM. All right,
Dr.
so
Zainab, is Prof. Rosia ready for us? Otherwise, I could do a brief introduction of our newly appointed Vice Chancellor.
yeah, that would be good. And I'm sure she's already in, but we will get the cue.
Okay.
Go ahead, Faiza. Thank you very much.
Right. Please allow me to do a little bit of a background introduction to our newly appointed Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara. Professor Technologist Dr. Rosia Muhammad Jano is a professor of statistics at the Faculty of Computer Science and Mathematics, UiTM Malaysia. Her area of teaching and research includes statistical modeling, measurement inequality, data development analysis on departmental efficiency, university impact study, structural equation modeling, customer satisfaction modeling and survey design, learner success model, values survey, and online CPI. Prof. Rosie has served UiTM for 30 years in various capacities, such as Fellow at the Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement, as Head of Strategic Information UiTM, as Director of Academic Quality, Director of Curriculum Affairs UiTM. Prof. Rosie had served as Assistant Vice Chancellor of Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement, INCA UiTM, for 5 years, managing all the quality initiatives of the university, including institutional accreditation, program accreditation, quality excellence model, quality management systems, innovation at work, and the university ranking project. Prof. Rosia was the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic and Internationalization prior to being appointed the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara about a week ago. So that is the background of Prof. Rosie. I hope we are ready for her now, I hope.
Yes, so once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me inviting the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara, Yang Berbahagia Professor T.S. Dr. Rosia Muhammad Jano, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Professor Rosia. I guess they're still trying to get her on board.
Yeah.
Connected, yeah, pretty much. We are calling already. Yeah.
Would it be okay, Dr. Z, if we played Prof. Jackie's video in the meantime while waiting?
The video. All right, Raja. Thank you.
Greetings from Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. My name is Dr. Jackie Reese-Ulmer, and I am the Dean of the College of Business and the Glenn E. Corlett Professor of Business. My predecessor, Dr. Hugh Sherman, is currently serving as the 22nd President of Ohio University, and I am thrilled to be granted the opportunity to continue to support and encourage the vibrant partnership we share with University Technology Mara, as well as address participants of this exciting webinar today. Ohio University has a proud history with UiTM and with the country of Malaysia. Since I joined Ohio University this past year, I have learned a great deal about our partners around the world, and I have been very impressed with the strong connection we have with Malaysia and UiTM. The Ohio University and UiTM partnership stretches back over 50 years as we began our first programs in business and commerce with Institute Technology Mara back in 1968. Our College of Business helped ITM, now UiTM, start its own BBA and MBA programs and offered MBA and BBA programs at UiTM on the main campus and Sarawak campus, as well as the Executive MBA program for Tenaga Nasional, or TNB. Many Ohio University faculty traveled to Malaysia to teach, conduct research, and immerse in the local culture. For many, their time in Malaysia was a life and career-changing experience, and among them is our current president, Hugh Sherman. Ohio University collaborated with UiTM as it developed into one of the most influential institutions of higher learning in Malaysia and is proud to have contributed to the establishment of its business school. This robust, visionary relationship was established through the imitable leadership of Tun Arshad Ayub. On behalf of Ohio University, I would like to thank Tun Arshad Ayub for his vision, leadership, incredible dedication, and commitment for the strong partnership between Ohio University and UiTM. His contributions have made a profound impact on Ohio University and its students, faculty, and staff, as well as on the people of Malaysia. In 1994, Ohio University became the largest producer of MBA and EMBA graduates in Malaysia through its partnership with UiTM. There are more than 1,500 active Ohio University alumni important contribution to Malaysian American understanding. A large number of Ohio alumni now work for the Malaysian government, in the private sectors, in the Sarawak and Sabah civil service, and for UiTM. Over the years, the partnership expanded to additional areas, and it has benefited Ohio and UiTM. In 2009 and 2010, the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies in UiTM sent 2 groups of UiTM students to do an internship at Ohio. Ohio film students traveled to Malaysia in 2012 to produce a film under the direction of Frederick Lewis, Associate Professor in the School of Media Arts and Studies. Ohio University is proud that Professor Habiba Yushari at UiTM was the 14th Tun Abdul Razak Chair from 2011 through 2014. Professor Habiba was instrumental to strengthening ties with UiTM. Through her leadership, Ohio started offering a Bahasa Malaysia language course in 2013. She was also instrumental in efforts to bring the former Prime Minister of Malaysia to the Athens campus during the inaugural International Education Week in 2013. Professor Habiba, or Beeb, is affectionately remembered by many people at Ohio University and is referred to as an amazing ambassador for both Malaysia and Ohio University. Ohio University co-hosted the 10th Distinguished Tun Abdul Razak Lecture in December 2018 alongside UiTM and UPM with 1,000 people in attendance. Coming up in early December 2021, Ohio is very pleased to once again serve as a co-organizer of INCULT, the International Conference on University Learning and Teaching. The theme is Realizing Sustainable Development Goals in the New Norms Through Quality Education. So with a very special history of institutional connections and projects over many decades serving as a strong foundation, we at Ohio University are excited to press forward alongside UiTM, reinvigorating the excellence we have already established and eagerly exploring new opportunities. Our College of Business has many things to be proud of, including a top 50 online MBA program, a #1 ranked online sports graduate program, the Professional Masters of Sports Administration, a #1 ranked MBA dual Master of Sport Administration program, a top 15 public business school. Over 90% of our students have positive employment outcomes within 90 days of graduation. 6 highly impactful centers that support student experiential learning, including the Ralph and Lucy Shea Sales Center, the Center for Entrepreneurship, the Robert E. Walter Center for Strategic Leadership, the AECOM Center for Sports Administration, the Center for Consumer Research and Analytics, and the Center for International Business. We boast over 190 award-winning faculty and staff, over 3,700 students in our online and residential programs, and over 38,000 living alumni from all over the world. It's truly remarkable to think about how long our two institutions have been working together and to reflect on the impact of this collaboration has had on the students and faculty at both institutions. Ohio University's partnership with UiTM benefits our students, faculty, and our entire university in countless ways. This partnership enriches our academic programs, provides research opportunities, and adds on an important component to our educational atmosphere. We have aspirations to work with the Arshad Ayub Graduate Business School to further foster collaborations between Ohio and UiTM. The global pandemic has certainly impacted the ways that we are able to connect, but we look forward to all that is to come and the innovation and renewed energy with which we will continue cultivating. We are deeply appreciative of your commitment to this integral relationship we have with Malaysia, and we look forward to building upon that relationship moving forward. Thank you. Greetings from Ohio University.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Dean Jackie Dean Alma, the Dean, College of Business from Ohio University. So once again, thank you for the warmth and the way forward in forging future collaborations between UiTM and Ohio University. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll not be hearing the welcoming remarks from Prof. Rosia due to a very major technical situation. We apologize once again, and I shall now pass over to Professor Chemist Dr. Hadaria Barum to perhaps deliver the welcoming remarks. Prof. Hada.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Welcome everyone, and today UiTM Global is proud to present to you the MERDEKA Voices. MERDEKA is independent in English. The MERDEKA Voices and Internationalization of UiTM. In this auspicious event, we will bring to fore the internationalization journey of UiTM. We will hear views and sharings from our esteemed international partners, international alumnus, and of course, our own prominent international figures in the spirit of MERDEKA, globalization, and of course, our journey towards globally renowned university GRU 2025. As Dr. Z has mentioned, we regret to announce that our beloved Pro-Chancellor Tun Arshad Ayub, who's also the founder of ITM, UiTM now, catalyzed its internationalization since the early 1960s. Tun is not able to join us this morning as a panelist as originally planned for unavoidable reasons. We wish Tun Arshad Ayub well. We will have, we had listened to Dr. Jackie Rees-Almer, the recording of her presentation to us just now. Then we will have Dr. Yuliandri Darwis, who is the Commissioner for Broadcasting Commission Indonesia. We will have Dr. Carla Schneider Guini Gindo, the Director of Global Partnership, Miami University, United States of America in Ohio. And we have our own Prof. Dr. Habibah Ash'ari, who is the Honorary Professor in UiTM under the Department of UiTM Global. And our moderator today is, of course, our Dr. Haja Zainab Haji Muhammad Noor, the Director of Department of International Affairs, UiTM Global. Let me do a little bit of introduction to the history of UiTM because it is very relevant to the current discussion today. University Technology Mara is an institution of higher learning and established under the University Technology Mara Act 1976, Act 173. UiTM was first established as Dewan Latihan Rida, Rural and Industrial Development Authority, with the aim of rebuilding the rural society as well as improving the economy of rural Malays. Dewan Latihan Rida conducted several external professional courses offered by established international bodies such as the London Chamber of Commerce, the Australian Chartered Secretaryship, the Australian Society of Accountants, and the British Institute of Management. Dewan Latihan Rida became known as Mara College in June of 1965. Mara College began running its own Diploma of Business and Commerce in collaboration with the University of Ohio, USA in 1968, as Dr. Jackie mentioned in her speech just now. International recognition of the course came from the Ealing Technical College of London, which also became its external examiner. Then Mara College was officially renamed Institute Technology Mara on the 14th of October 1967. The establishment came as a response to a crucial need in the country for trained manpower at professional and semi-professional levels. Many courses are still internationally affiliated, and we offer advanced diploma courses. We used to offer, before we became university, what we call advanced diploma courses, which were equivalent to a degree. In 1999, the then Prime Minister of Malaysia, Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, announced the upgrading of ITM from institute to university status. So this happened on the 26th of August, 5 days prior to our MERDEKA Day in 1999, 22 years ago. And we have been renamed University Technology Mara UiTM that would enable the offering of courses of studies and the conferment of degree of all levels. So as you can see, the internationalization journey of UiTM began since its inception as Dewan Latihan Rida in the early 60s, well over half a century ago. So this is a strong beginning for ITM, UiTM, and we are also proud to state again that everything, all the courses, all the programs that we offer have been offered fully in English, which is something that will benefit our students at the global arena. Thank you, Dr. Z. That's all for me now.
Right. Thank you very much, Prof. Hadaria, for sharing the 60 years of internationalization of UiTM. And as mentioned, of course, no internationalization journey of university is truly a smooth plan, as there were challenges, as there were obstacles, and sometimes, very successful stories to sustain the partnerships. So from the institution, we now would like to look at the international student. So a university like University Technology Mara, in the midst of its internationalization journey, would definitely look into the aspects of having foreign students on its campus to forge international exchanges among students in UiTM. So how best to do it if it's not through having foreign students on its campus? So let us hear from Dr. Yulandre as an international student alumni from UiTM, who actually chose UiTM to obtain his postgraduate degrees. So Dr. Yulandre, thank you very much once again. The screen is all yours, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Zainab. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. One of our duties, and that is to be a pioneer in a changing world. We will ensure broadcasting technologies advance will be a beneficiary for the members of IEC and citizens of the world. Distinguished guests yang berbahagia, Profesor T.S. Dr. Hajah Razia Muhammad Janur, Vice Chancellor UiTM, Dr. Jackie Rees Ulmer, Dean dari College of Business, Ohio University, USA. Yang berbahagia, Tun Dr. Arsyad Ayub, Pro Chancellor UiTM, and Dr. Carla Schneider, Director of Global Partnership, Miami University, USA. Yang berbahagia, Prof. Dr. Habibah Asari, Honorary Professor UiTM Global, and Professor Hadaria Barun, always contact me and communicate with me. Assistant Vice Chancellor Internalization UiTM Global, and specialist Dr. Hazza Zainab Haji Muhammad Nur, and Director Department of International Affairs UiTM Global as moderator. First of all, let's ask praise and thank you. First is the presence of Allah Almighty for the abundance of grace and the joy of all us can still gather in this event without any barriers and all and in good health. It's such an honor for me to be able to participate in this event, UiTM. You know, it is like feel like home. I'm Yuliandre Darwis. You can call me Andre. I'm an alumni of UiTM Malaysia with a master degree in communication and media studies and my doctorate in mass communication and media studies in 2010. And I have gained many valuable experience during my time as UiTM student. What else? Talk about as a student who is active in the organization since I was in senior high school until college in Malaysia. I was also active in campus organization. In 2006 and then 2007, I was vice president of International Student Society at UiTM. And it's outside the campus organization, I became general chair of the Indonesian Student Association in 2006, something in Malaysia. When I took my master degree at UiTM, I was also entrusted by the state to be the UN UNESCO Young Ambassador representing Indonesia in Paris and France. And in addition, I was also charged by a liaison of or communicator between Indonesia and foreign countries in several organizations like Indonesian Young Entrepreneur, Junior Chambers International of Chambers Commerce. When I studied at UiTM, I also interested by the governor of Sumatra to serve as spokesperson or liaison for what I call it is governor of West Sumatra with foreign affairs. Relationship between West Sumatra like Selangor were my first initiation. Then relation between the two countries were continued in Bukit Tinggi and West Sumatra. It's my hometown. I initiated a meeting of Mr. Abdullah Badawi, the Prime Minister, was Prime Minister of Malaysia, to meet with the President of Indonesia, Mr. Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. Several business collaboration between Indonesia and Malaysia were also successfully carried out. Then, including myself, I successfully also made a collaboration to establish a business of Umroh and money changer Indonesia, and it's my own company. After completing my education at UiTM Malaysia, I got so many opportunities to serve in the professional world. According to my passion in the communication field, becoming UiTM graduate is an honor for me. In 2010, I finished my doctoral studies and I returned to Indonesia. In 2013, I was elected as the chairman of the Indonesian Association of Communication Scholars. I was the youngest chairman in the history of this association. The knowledge that's gained in college, I dedicated to being a lecturer at several universities in Indonesia, such as the Andalas University, Paramadina University, London School Public Relation, and UPN Veteran Jakarta, and also be a promoter for the doctor candidate in Pajajaran University until now. In 2016, I was entrusted with being the chairman of the Indonesian Broadcasting Commission by the Indonesian House of Representatives and was inaugurated by the President of the Republic Indonesia. This is my time for the what they called it involved the like politics in Indonesia, but the government gave me a mandate to be a chairman. At the time, I was the youngest chairman of the state institution in Indonesia, because we have the minimum to be what they call it the chairman in Indonesia is 35 years old, the minimum. And I was there in 25 years, 11 months, something. This is the when I became the chairman of the Indonesian Broadcasting Commission, or KPI, we called it KPI. I was also faced with a strong political condition in broadcasting. You know, during Indonesia presidential election, we have we have something problem. Like at the time, it was felt there were two television between presidential candidate. We called it the red television and blue television because we have two candidate or president. That all the television is cannot be something like neutral. But with the policies that I taken, this political condition could be resolved and it's stable. It's my what we called it my legacy in when I've got the policy to how to be neutral again to all the media. When I was a chairman of KPI, I was also elected as a chairman of the World Broadcasting Commission, or IBRAF, or IC Broadcasting Regulatory Authorities Forum, for 2 periods in the 2018 and 17. At the time, the existence of the KPI was strangely felt by the public, both Indonesian and internationally. A KPI is considered to be able to contribute more in the world of broadcasting, you know it, especially is Islamic countries through the IBRAF International Conference, which at the time also became a world-class broadcasting conference and was held in Bandung, West Java. At the time, I managed to bring 46 countries from all over the world, including those who were members of OIC, or non-OIC also, representative from the other country, such as South Korea, New Zealand, and Australia and US, were also interested to attending this international conferences. Also my design. When I was a chairman of World Broadcasting Commission, or IBRAF, I have a homework to deal with issues related to religion that are related to politics, which at the time appeared in various media, including the issue of like Islamophobia, which was widely prevalent in broadcast media. I invite also all Islamic countries, you know it, all the media is something like framing in bad framing about that, to contribute to handle Islamophobia in broadcast media. And as an alumni, I feel proud and grateful to be able to complete my studies at UiTM Malaysia. More than that, who are also an inspirable part of this alma mater, most of course be able to make the best contribution to our alma mater UiTM Malaysia. Maybe after this, I will most likely to go into the politics because I will be assigned to be one of the leaders of the political party. Hopefully my good intention will produce the best of the benefit of many people. I have a motto that I believe in my life, because you only live once, so you have to make everything that you do meaningful for yourself and for others. Don't forget to do the best and let God do the rest. Something like that. Thank you, Dr. Zainab. This is my sharing of my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Andre. Very illustrious activities, achievements, and I'm sure our Indonesian students who are listening to you today, and our partners are all inspired by your journey. And of course, we'll come back more to you later, with some questions from them pertaining to how the being an international student and what has that actually given you the opportunity. Great. All right. So from Indonesia, shall we now go to the United States of America? And I know, Carla, it's about close to 10:30 in the US. All right. So we're glad that Carla Schneider Guinigindo is able to join us. And Carla, as a friend of UiTM from Miami University in Ohio, and would like to share with us today on the topic of the impact of UiTM and Malaysia in Ohio, a student perspective, because it's very interesting, because Carla was in Malaysia when her father was actually working in Malaysia. So as a student and in Malaysia and able to see that, and what triggered her interest later to go into Asian studies, and then perhaps what she's doing now, her passion, and still looking at the global connectivity and partnerships of Miami University. So with that, Carla, we would like to hear more from you, Carla. So screen is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dr. Haja Razia Mohammed Janor, Vice Chancellor of UiTM, Dr. Jackie Rees-Ulmer, Dean of the College of Business at Ohio University, Professor Dr. Hidaria Bahron, fellow panelists, moderators, and guests. Thank you for this opportunity to share my experience from my perspective as an American graduate student that benefited from the Ohio and UiTM partnership and the resources that grew out of that partnership that began many years ago. You've heard a bit about the institutional history between Ohio University and UiTM from Dr. Ulmer, and I'll now share with you my personal experience in Malaysia as a graduate student at Ohio University. As Dr. Zainab mentioned, I lived with my family in Penang when I was a teenager from 1990 to 1992. My father was working for Baxter Healthcare in Bayan Lepas at the time, so my sister and I attended Dalat International School located on Tanjung Bunga. Having never moved before, the adjustment to a new country and a school was challenging, but once we were settled, Penang became my second home. When my father's job completed and it was time to return to the United States, I knew that I would one day find some way to return to Malaysia. After returning to Ohio, I attended Miami University as an undergraduate student, selecting Miami's interdisciplinary studies program that enabled me to essentially create my own major focused on Asian studies and specifically Malaysia. I took every course that Miami offered on Asia at the time, most of which were focused on East Asia, and I studied the only Asian language available, which was Chinese. My academic interest in Malaysian politics and society was solidified after I met a Malaysian student on campus with whom I developed a friendship and regularly discussed the latest developments in Malaysian politics. I focused my senior thesis at Miami on Chinese communities and culture in Malaysia. And I noticed very quickly that every book that I needed for this project, I had to request through OhioLink, which is the interlibrary loan system here in the state of Ohio. All of the books that I ordered came from Ohio University's Alden Library. At that point, I had already accepted a job to teach English in Guangzhou, China, following my graduation, but I changed my plans quickly once I realized that Ohio University offered a graduate degree program in Southeast Asian Studies, had a Malaysian Resource Center in its library, and offered instruction in Malay and Indonesian language. Wow. The graduate program at OU could not have been better suited to my interests. Thanks to the relationship between Alden Library and the National Library of Malaysia, virtually every book published in Malaysia or about Malaysia could be found on Ohio University's campus. I recall my first visit to that library, standing in amazement among the stacks, feeling so incredibly fortunate that this tremendous resource was not just available in the United States, but it was here in my home state of Ohio. At the time, Ohio University was designated as a U.S. Department of Education National Resource Center for Southeast Asian Studies, which was a recognition that was received in large part due to the strength of the Malaysian resources on Ohio University's campus. This funding enabled an active visiting scholar program, Malaysian academics and artists and political figures such as Marina Mahathir, Mano Maniam, Dr. Patricia Martinez, and Malaysian ambassador to the United States, Ghazali Sheikh Abdul Khalid, were among those who I had the pleasure to meet as a graduate student. Perhaps the most unique resource at Ohio University is the Tun Abdul Razak Chair. This academic chair, which was initially funded through an endowment established by the Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education and US companies who are doing business in Malaysia, provides the resources for a senior Malaysian scholar and his or her family to live in Athens for a 2-year period or more. The Tun Razak Chair teaches classes both on Malaysia generally, as well as on topics of his or her academic specialization. The chair contributes as a member of the faculty in Asian Studies in the academic department relevant to his or her academic training, and is also very actively engaged in the vibrant Southeast Asian Studies community, which includes poetry nights, film festivals, potluck dinners at the Tun Razak home on Maplewood Drive, and the annual Spring into Southeast Asia Gala. As a graduate student, I often enjoyed visiting the chair's office in Alden Library to ask questions or get feedback on my papers and assignments. Through the process of writing and defending my master's thesis on the formation of Suhakam and its ability to address human rights issues in Malaysia, Professor Dr. Zakaria Ahmad, who was chair at the time, was an ideal mentor and helped provide me with a more nuanced understanding of the topic than I would have gained on my own. As a graduate student focused on the study of Malaysia, there was no better place in the United States to pursue my master's degree than Ohio University. For that, I have UiTM and the Malaysian Ministry of Education to thank, along with countless faculty and staff at Ohio University who helped build and maintain this tremendous relationship. And some of those individuals include Felix Gagliano, the late Norman Palmer, Ed Baum, Joseph Rota, Drew McDaniel, Daniel Weiner, and the many faculty in the College of Business and the Southeast Asian Studies program who contributed over the years. I enjoyed my graduate student experience at Ohio University so much that I didn't leave. While I had initially been focused on pursuing a career in the U.S. Foreign Service, that aspiration changed when the opportunity to work for the Southeast Asian Studies program in an administrative role became available just as I was completing my master's degree. For the next 10 years, I worked in the Center for International Studies, and I had the privilege of serving as the coordinator for the Tun Abdul Razak Chair program during that time. While I knew the value of this program from the students' perspective, I soon learned the amount of work that it took on both the Malaysian and Ohio sides to maintain the program and ensure its sustainability. I had the distinct privilege of being the main point of contact for the Tun Abdul Razak Chair families, helping them get adjusted to life in Athens upon arrival and ensuring that they had the support they needed to make the most of their tenure at Ohio University. The opportunity to engage with the many Malaysian Bobcats at alumni events in Malaysia was also an enjoyable part of my job, due in large part to the business programs with ITM, now UiTM. The largest concentration of Ohio University alumni outside the state of Ohio is in Malaysia. The dedication of Ohio alumni in Malaysia in supporting the Ohio-Malaysia partnerships was exemplified by the tireless efforts of many alumni, but most especially the late Datuk Sheikh Sulaiman Ismail and Datuk Mahathir Lokman. May they both rest in peace. I have now worked in the field of international education for nearly 2 decades, and I continue to be engaged in building and sustaining global education partnerships through my work with Miami University, which is also in the state of Ohio. As I reflect on my experience as both a student and a staff member at Ohio and my involvement in the Ohio partnerships with UiTM in Malaysia, I'm struck at how unique and special this relationship continues to be. Higher education partnerships that cross disciplinary boundaries, that integrate into the curriculum of institutions, that impact both campuses and local communities, and that stand the test of time are the ideal, but they are very rare. To succeed, they take significant investments of time and resources, strong commitments on both sides to ensure mutual benefit, and tireless champions focused on building a partnership infrastructure that will outlive themselves. Ohio and Malaysia have been fortunate to have the support and commitment needed to ensure that this unique relationship has continued and will continue to do so. I would like to take this opportunity to offer my congratulations to Professor Dr. Hajah Rosia Mohammed Janwar on her appointment as the Vice Chancellor of UiTM, and to all of you on Malaysia's 64th MERDEKA celebration. I would also like to offer my sincere appreciation to UiTM, and especially to Tun Dr. Arshad Ayub for his foundational role in the development of the Ohio-Malaysia relationships and programs. These have been a central pillar in my own academic and professional development, and I am very grateful to be a part of these relationships. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much, Carla, for that very insightful, very motivating, very enlightening to hear from you from a student perspective to what the partnership is all about, and also the way forward for us to take into consideration when we internationalize. And I think the key word that you mentioned was about, we need champions and very passionate individuals who are actually willing to sacrifice their time, their efforts, their energies towards ensuring what's on paper, on policy, is to materialize when that happens. So, and of course, from Carla, sharing with us about how resourceful the library under the Tun Abdul Razak chair, a library resourceful that was coming from Malaysia, and that was the only source, and it has been very helpful to her. So with that, I think the next panelist for us today, Honorary Professor Dr. Habibah Ashari, as the 14th chairholder of Tun Abdul Razak in Ohio, will be the rightful person to continue what Carla has just said. And of course, fondly known as Prof. Beef, as mentioned by Dean Almer earlier. So I guess Prof. Habibah, again, I think I will not do justice to mention that she's a MERDEKA child, I would say MERDEKA baby. And of course, very interesting story, because let us hear from her about her being in the womb of her mother when MERDEKA was actually, happening at the, during the declaration of MERDEKA. So we are excited. Professor Habibah, please welcome Professor Habibah, the former or the 14th chairholder of the Tun Abdul Razak prestigious chair. Professor Habibah, the screen is all yours.
You're muted, Prof. Can you
unmute? We would like you to unmute, please. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, Dr. Z. I was disconnected for a short bit, so and I lost the virtual background as well. Anyhow, I'm back on, and I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very illustrious MERDEKA Voices and Internationalization. And I would like to begin with congratulating Dr. Rosia Muhammad Janor for her appointment as the 6th Vice Chancellor of UiTM, an extremely big university. And I know that you have a very challenging job ahead of you, but under your leadership, we know that you will be able to meet the challenges head on and bring UiTM to greater heights. I would also like to congratulate Dr. Hugh Sherman for being the 22nd president of Ohio University. And for your information, Dr. Hugh Sherman was also one of the professors who were teaching on the ITM BBA MBA program in Shah Alam. So we have him as being a very, very strong proponent of the UiTM, ITM, BBA, MBA program. Let me begin by also greeting Professor Dr. Hadaria Bahron. Thank you very much for inviting me. Dr. Zainab, again, for always inviting me to webinars and meetings, etc. And also to all the eminent panelists, thank you very much. I would like to begin by maybe talking a little bit about the Tun Abdul Razak Chair, which Carla had mentioned several times, and also Dr. Rees Olmer had also mentioned. So I will just give a brief rundown of the Tun Razak Chair and my appointment as the chair. I was appointed the 14th Tun Abdul Razak Chair, and I served Ohio University and also the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia from 2011 to 2014. It was one of the most exciting and interesting periods in my life. It was also one of the highlights of my career as a professor. And I enjoyed every second of my 3 years at Ohio University. And I agree with Carla that the Malaysian Resource Center is one of the largest, if not the largest, library resource materials for Malaysia and Malaysiana. So things that are banned in Malaysia, actually, you can get at Ohio University, Vernon or Alden Library. So go there if you want to see what we have banned here. One of the roles of the Tun Razak Chair is to teach, and the other is to do research and also to do outreach programs that that promote Malaysia and Southeast Asia. So I had fun organizing, I had fun teaching, of course, focus on Malaysia and seminar on Tun Abdul Razak. But I also had fun, a lot of fun, organizing conferences and festivals on Malaysia. We had, I brought Professor Razak Muhyiddin to the Malaysian Film Festival, where he showed his film Duyung, and he gave a talk about the filming and the production of the film. And the students were also very interested in how he used underwater camera to film underwater, you know, the mermaid or the Duyung. And then for the inaugural International Education Week, I had the honor and the pleasure of inviting our then Minister of Education, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, who is our former Prime Minister, to inaugurate and officiate the first International Education Week at UiTM in November of 2013. And in one of the video clips from UiTM Global, we had the 10th Distinguished Razak Lecture posted on the video. But I would like to also mention that on the 9th Distinguished Tun Abdul Razak Lecture, we were very heavily involved. UiTM was very heavily involved in the organization of the Tun Razak Lecture, and we featured the late His Excellency Dr. Surin Pitsuwan, who was the former ASEAN Secretary General. And that was a very, very, another momentous event in my career as the Tun Abdul Razak Chair. Now, in the last decade, from 2011 to 2021, even now, yeah, we have only had 2 Tun Abdul Razak Chair chairholders, me and also Professor Jayum from University Pertanian Malaysia, University Putra Malaysia, sorry. It's me when I said University Pertanian. Anyhow, what we are facing now is some problems in selecting the 16th Tun Abdul Razak Chair. And we really hope that the Ministry of Higher Education, with the new minister, Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Noraini, will quickly select the next Tun Abdul Razak Chair and probably continue with the legacy of Tun Abdul Razak Chair. It has to be kept alive. Otherwise, you know, for the last 4 years, it has been vacant, and we don't want it to die a slow death. So, Minister, if you're listening to me right now, or if one of your aides is listening to us right now, please do something about the appointment of the next, the 16th Tun Abdul Razak Chair. The next thing that I would like to talk about is on the what my topic of the talk is, which is pioneers in international education, international higher education. Now, as we have known about the history of UiTM, we began internationalization right from the get-go, like a US cowboy would say, yeah? Right from the get-go. We had international faculty, we had international curriculum, and if, this is for Dr. Rosia Jano, if we had been ranked at that time by QS or THE, we would have been ranked first in international education, yeah? Because we started way in 1956, throughout the 60s, through the 70s and 80s. And in Malaysia, when other private universities started making baby steps towards internationalization, we had already made leaps and bounds in international relationships. And I would say that Ohio University was one of the pioneers of our international partners, yeah? And it is actually interesting to note that the relationship began actually at a cocktail party in Lagos, Nigeria, when the then High Commissioner of Malaysia to Nigeria, the late Tuanku Jaafar of Negeri Sembilan, he met with a couple of professors from Ohio University. He asked them, what are you doing here? Well, we are helping Nigeria with their higher education, etc., etc. And then the rest of history, he invited them to come to Malaysia. And we were with Rida at that time, then Maktab Mara, etc. And they began their programs with us. So that was how our international journey with Ohio University started. And for 30 years, the Tun Abdul Razak Chair, which began in 1981, for 30 years, UiTM did not have any professor as the Tun Abdul Razak Chair. And I was the first one, and it was indeed an honor for me, as well as an honor for women and women professors in UiTM, and especially for my family. And actually, it also cemented the relationship between Ohio University and UiTM. We have many illustrious alumni from the relationship with Ohio, and Carla has mentioned one, two, Datuk Sheikh, as well as the late Dale Lokman. We are very proud of them, and may they rest in peace, as Carla mentioned earlier. But we also have other alumni that came out of this relationship, and they were in high positions in Malaysia. They are in high positions in Malaysia, and we're very proud of the Ohio connection. I'll just name some of them. They are Datuk Rohani Karim, Datuk Nancy Shukri, Tan Sri Nazmi Saleh from Proton and BAM. Also, Tan Sri Ahmad Nizam Saleh, the chief CEO of chairman or CEO of Petronas. He's already left that position. And then we also have Datuk Kamalul Arifin from PHB. And then in UiTM itself, we have our Dean of the Faculty of Sports Science, Prof. Anizu, and also the head of our Pusat Sukan, Sports Center, Ustaza. There are many other Ohio University alumni all over Malaysia. As mentioned earlier, it is the biggest alumni group outside of Ohio. And we will not forget also our present chairman of the board of directors of UiTM, Tan Sri Ibrahim Abu Shah. Yeah? He is also an alumni, a proud alumni of Ohio University. So Ohio University actually came to Malaysia at the right time. If we talk about MERDEKA, we gained independence in 1957. We met Ohio University in Nigeria in 1965, and in late 60s, they started their programs with us. They were instrumental in building the human resource component of the country. When the country really needs to build its capacity, when the country really needs to, build its nationhood. So Ohio came in at the very right time, yeah? And as the teacher of athletes, Ohio being the teacher and UiTM being the student now has surpassed the teacher, and UiTM has become the largest university in Malaysia, and we are very proud that our name is on the global stage, and we are poised to become a globally renowned university in our strategic plan by 2025. And I wish us all the luck. We are 22 years as a university, but more than half a century as an institution. And also Malaysia, 64 years old as a nation. And I'd like to wish Malaysia, I would like to wish UiTM, I would like to wish all Malaysians and friends of Malaysia. I know my friends from Ohio University, Dr. Joseph Rota, Dr. Felix Galliano in Ohio, Dr. Rota in Texas. They're all listening and watching the YouTube channel right now, Dr. Z. And we are indeed very proud that UiTM Global has made this really excellent effort to bring together the notion of the odyssey of UiTM's journey around the world. So with that, I thank you very much for the opportunity, and all the best to everyone. Thank you.
Dr. Z, we can't hear you.
All right, sorry about that. So thank you very much once again, Professor Dr. Habibah Shari, the Honorary Professor at UiTM Global. So we are glad to hear on how we are still connected. And from early days, as you mentioned, being the pioneer in international higher education, if there were ranking back then, if there were reputation, rating and all that, perhaps, ITM would have been the so-called #1 institute of higher education learning. But today, looking forward, and I'm sure when we hear from Professor Dr. Roziah, the Vice Chancellor, on the way forward, a part of the grand finale afterwards, as to where we are in terms of #1, our ranking journey, and what is very important on how actually UiTM has actually made its impact to the nation itself, to Malaysia, all right, together with this 64th celebration of independence. And so, of course, as mentioned earlier, that ITM and you became UiTM almost 22 years ago, all right, the status of a university, but of course, the core business of being in education and training and building capacity for individuals, graduates, employment, and contributing to nation building. So ITM has started in the early 60s. All right. So with that, I think, Prof. Habibah, there's one more question I need to ask you. You forgot to share with us the fact that, MERDEKA and the role of your late mother and also you were not born then. I think they need to hear that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Z. Yes, I'm proud to be a MERDEKA baby. And I always told my sisters that I'm MERDEKA. I'm a real Malaysian because I was born after August 31st. I was born in October 1957. And the interesting thing is that I was in my mother's tummy when she was at the Padang listening to Tengku Abdul Rahman shouting the words MERDEKA, MERDEKA, MERDEKA. And And there I was, I think, in the tummy, listening to her. And one of the things that always brings joy to me is that my mother was quite a political heavyweight in her time. She was the assistant to Dato' On, yeah, the founder of UMNO. And she actually was tasked into buying the cloth for the flag of UMNO. And she went with the late Tun Hussein On to Singapore. I think they went to Robinson. They were chaperoned though. And they bought the material. And my mother came back to JB, Johor Bahru, and started sewing the first UMNO flag, actually. And unfortunately, it was never actually, there were no pictures of her sewing the flag. And so this is, you have to trust me about this. But she has appeared in the newspapers and being interviewed about being the first person to sew the UMNO bendera. And her sister, Aisha, also sewed the Pemuda UMNO's flag, actually. So I have a very strong connection to MERDEKA. The country turned 64, I am 64. So you know what my age is, yeah?
Very young, 64.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that. So I think at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to hear from a video that was prepared by for us to hear from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. T.S. Dr. Roziah Muhammad Janor, on what he has to say about the MERDEKA voices and internationalization and the impact of UiTM today in its 62 years of existence. So, okay, we shall hear that video now.
When we want to relate independence to ranking, it maybe some people might say that, so what about it? So how can we relate ranking and independence? But from my point of view, yes, it is important. Ranking is about to see or to move the university from one state or one situation to another state, so future state. For that matter, we want to be known, be a globally renowned university. So ranking is a very important indicator to help us match and map where we are currently and where we want to be. So subsequently, we will be looking at next year, where are we actually focusing, where are we supposed to focus next year and the subsequent year, and how do we relate our budget and our resources in order for us to meet the target. So ranking, for all of us know, ranking has some ranking body, university ranking body like QS and also Times Higher Education, and also Shanghai Jiaotong ranking body. But for UiTM, we are actually tagging along to QS, World University Ranking, Asia University Ranking, and also Graduate Employability. And when you say when we started all this, well, officially, if I were to say when we started about the linking UiTM's performance to QS ranking, we started way back in 2007. 2007, that was when the Vice Chancellor's office take charge of it. And I was, back then, I was an officer in CSPI, Center for Strategic Planning. So I was the one in charge. And then when I moved to academic and in the international's office, back then as a director of quality Quality, Director of Quality, I was asked to also bring along this initiative. So in 2010, we still take charge on this QS ranking lah. So what we did back then was we submit data, international ranking data submission, not purely every year. So we have to do this data, 5-year critical data on the number of students, international student, and a few more about what else. We have 5 indicators lah. And then, of course, these 5 indicators, the most important thing is on academic peers and also employability, employers data. So that was when we started submitting information from UiTM. And then, of course, we have established this data submission. There's a unit handling those. There's a unit in UiTM that handles this data submission. As I mentioned earlier on, it was done by CSPI. Currently, a new department rename or rebrand as a transformation, University Transformation Department. But back then, when I was with INCA, we moved to INCA, so we established this ranking and rating unit under INCA. That was established in 2015, which later upgraded to the Department of Ranking in 2021. Earlier on, in 2015, the ranking effort has expanded to branch campuses. Now, in 2015, we were still looking only in Selangor, looking at Selangor perspective. Now, in 2021, we have expanded this thing to cover all campuses. All right, and then the ranking and back then in 2015, because UiTM is so huge, so we got to have this people moving it. Yeah, and when back then we have what we call ranking champion. We appoint each faculty one person who handles this ranking champion, because earlier on I did mention about 3 world university ranking, Asia university ranking, employability ranking, and QSS has another one, which is subject ranking, world subject ranking. Because this subject ranking actually looking at field, so currently there are 48 fields are being ranked throughout the world, and since 2016 we have already started submitting data on that. And each faculty, because of that, we need to have one more of like a liaison officer, so that to help this ranking department to prepare those data accordingly. So by subject. So we have one like chemical engineering, we have mechanical engineering, we have computer science, and non science and technology, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this that's where this ranking champion plays a role. So they clean up the data, and from that point of view, because remember we have to submit data. Our intention is to submit data for the world university ranking, but because of this subject ranking, and we have our ranking champion, what they do is actually what they did back then was to submit data according to their faculty and also field. Then those, whatever they do was actually being translated and aggregated to then our world university ranking and also Asia university ranking. That's what we do. The strategy was pushed down to faculty, and then the result then would be accumulated right up to world, the Asia university ranking and also world university ranking. But take note, our objective then and also future, we are looking at not just peer academic peers, and also this reputation data, but at the same time we are also looking at 3 other important indicators, which are citation and publication. So, and another one is employability. That's why we need the ranking champion to sort of assist the deans and the head of department how to mobilize our strategy to improve on this publication and also citation, and also getting people who knows us out there from this academic peers, academic reputation. So from QS point of view, for academic reputation, we are required to submit 400 different names every year. So that's also the function of a ranking champion from faculty, of each faculty and head of department. So they have to come up with this 4 fresh names every year. So that's also another reason why we need those liaison officer back at the faculty. So they are the one who knows who they are actually networked with for that particular year. So they will submit those names and also emails to our ranking department, and then of course we will channel those names to QS. For that matter, that's a difference between. That's one difference between QS ranking and Times Higher ranking. For Times Higher ranking, the reputation is measured differently. They are focusing more on research and publication. Times Higher ranking are the one contacting the author. They contacted the author from all universities, and also the co-authors. Then the questions whether they know who are the relevant universities from those names, as compared to when we do it for QS. QS required each and every university to submit names that we that know us, and then we bring it up, we submit to them, and they will send to all these names a survey. But bear in mind, QS wouldn't allow those names that we submitted to respond to our university. In our GRU, I put in short form, GRU 2025, globally renowned university. University or UiTM has already put ranking indicators as a proper indicator for us to indicate to us that we have achieved somewhere. So in that sense, for QS World University Ranking, we set a target to be top 300. Okay, top 300. So if we can push that even better, we'll be top 100 lah. Right? So maybe we need to go for top 100. But the how to definitely is a tough question and a tough strategy, and to make it happen, somehow need everyone to come on board in that sense. So we cannot just rely on one person. I don't believe in moving things only by one person or just by one office. Everybody must come on board, as I mentioned earlier. So the strategy, the first thing is to make sure everybody are aware of where do we want to go. So we are quite lucky, because now I think with that document, GRU 2025, it is clearly stated in that triangle that we are going for that top 100, and also 20 subject to be ranked, and 2 subject to be top 100. So that's very clear, and I mentioned earlier, we want everybody in UiTM, especially to academic staff, to go into this website, QS website, to look into and study what are the indicators and discuss those. So if we talk about publication, so it is not about one vice chancellor to ask you to write, or it's not about just one deputy vice chancellor to drive you to make sure you write. It is the whole university. If you want to go for this world globally renowned university, we need to publish. That's the basic idea of publication. So we need to publish, and if possible, if all our staff can publish in Q1 journal. If it is not Q1 journal now, it could be any, basic, simple Scopus journal, and then we got to plan. Each and every one of us must plan where we want to be in next 6 months or in next 1 year, or perhaps, of course, we can push right up to 2025. That's how I look at it. So in a way, everybody got to identify their own strength. So we have, in Selangor, we have 3,500 staff, academic staff, or faculty, we call it, right? Faculty members. So if each and every one of us can sort of identify where they are and where they want to be in terms of publication, or where they are in terms of bringing in names, like what I mentioned earlier on this academic reputation, and what they want to be in next next 6 months, perhaps bringing in 2 names. If each and every one of us brings 2 international names, that I think will be good enough. All right. And coming back to this publication, I hope all our academic staff will not try to sort of look into the fact that, because we are now 18 hours, so we cannot be writing. That's not a good excuse. The way I look at it, if it is 18 hours, or even now we have 16 hours, how many hours do we have a day, right? If it, in Malay, we say, nak 1000 daya, tak nak 1000 dalih. So if we have this 16 hours a week to teach, if you are already teaching one particular course for the past 10 years, do you think you need all these 18 hours to handle it? I don't think so. We can sort of do and teach effectively, efficiently. And what about the rest of the hours that we have available? That's where we want these people to write. So if they can contribute simple writing first, and then as they move along, in 3 years down the road, hopefully we can get this many Q1 journals, many Scopus journals, Scopus articles to be published. When we do all those activities I mentioned earlier, the impact will be, number one, to the individual itself, okay? Of course, then to the department and the whole university. It's always like people will ask, if I were to do this, what's in it for me? So this kind of impact must again be translated in terms of thinking. So if we can have discussion, open discussion, then perhaps they will see what's in it for them. So when we talk about impact, it is more of what's in it for them. And of course, from university point of view, we have done impact study. That is the official part of the impact of the university itself. So we have done this. But your question earlier, I will talk about that impact organization, but I will touch on this impact of this ranking first. So when each and every one of us, even the students, should also see. So if we get top 100, so what? People might want to say that, but of course, if we got top 100 or top 300, our image and our university's reputation will be comparable to other universities of that brand, that name, that level. So that will be good in terms of, that will be translated to motivation. So we want people within the university to be motivated to work hard, and work smart. So then people, if I just say work hard, then people will say we should be working smart now. Yes, I agree. With all this technology, we are working smart, right? We are working smart because we can produce more with less. That's my intention. That's my ideas. That hopefully all of us will not find an excuse of not producing, right? At all level. So I mentioned about publication. Of course, the rest of the team within the university will also work and assist in terms of once we already have this publication, once we have all these grants, who is going to promote those? And we have few teams who can do that. Our website, our social media will have to come on board and play a role. That's part of this impact. So even for personal impact, of course, immediately is your staff. What do you call it? You can get your professorship, you can get your associate professorship, and so on and so forth. So that's basically for personal impact. If people ask you, so why do we need to do this ranking? People all think that it is only benefiting the university. But trust me, if you come on board, because these are all the indicators that an academic staff must do if they want to transfer to universities in India or in US or in United Kingdom. These are the same things that they have to do. They have to produce papers. They got to teach, right? They got to do research. So it's the same indicators. It's not so much about ranking, but for that matter, ranking from my point of view, what are the impact? It's more of a reputation for the university. But where the question you mentioned about impact study, yes, for UiTM we have done two times impact study. One is in 2007. So we have done one impact study, more of a social impact. You must know why UiTM exists. UiTM is here because it's actually a platform where we create second opportunity for our Bumiputra to go for their tertiary education. So with that, we want to measure. We wanted to measure. So do we achieve those objective, those mission? So there was a study back in 2007, and we proved that yes, we have done quite significantly in terms of. If I can recall, back in 1956, when ITM started its. When we were established as Latihan Rida, there's only two programs being offered. It's only how many students? Less than 15 students in that particular program. And it was, the program was very simplistic, more of a making, is a thread making. So back then was that kind of our state back then. But now we are offering more than 550 programs. So you just imagine the impact. In 2007, we realized we need to study those and document it. So we have documented that, and we have whatever amount, or $1 that the government spent. We have calculated that the primary economic impact that we have created is about 4 ringgit. 4 ringgit back in 2007. So every $1 that the government spent for UiTM, we created 4 ringgit for the economic around the 5-kilometer radius within one campus. So that research was done in 2007 that include all campuses. And come 2020, in 1999 for that matter, 2019 for that matter, we have conducted another impact study. But this time around, the impact study, we use technology. So what we did is we use NASA images, and we want to trace what was the changes from 1999. That was when ITM became university. So we traced the image, satellite image from, of course, from our GIS team, and around all our campuses. So 5 kilometer radius and also 10-kilometer radius. So what we found in that 20 years, in 1999, 2099, 2009, and 2019, we have what we found is that the development surrounding the campuses has been tremendously very significant, and I would say 20%. 20% change in terms of land use, in terms of activities, and that's what we had impacted on the economic situation out there. So UiTM has played a role. We have proven that UiTM has achieved its objective and its mission. And to move forward, I think this GRU 2025 very significant, and everybody got to come on board and prove to ourselves, not proving to the rest of the world. We need to prove it to ourselves so that we have achieved our objective. Now we got to move higher. So we want to be at par with other organizations, other universities throughout the world. So we need to establish partners from international and telling people that we want to work with them, we want to be with them, we want to share with them what our knowledge. We want them to also work with us, co-create the future together. I think that should be our objective.
Okay, thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Professor T.S. Dr. Hajar Roziah Muhammad Jano, on that sharing of the UiTM's ranking and also impact study that was actually done twice following the development of UiTM. And of course, her parting words at the very end of the video was to actually the call for UiTM to further collaborations with more and more partners. So for the information to the audience today, currently the partners of UiTM, it's about close to 500 all around the world, and of course in the ASEAN region, again, to Dr. Andre, Indonesia is again, the biggest number of universities are our partners actually from the ASEAN region. So that's wonderful, and we are still connecting to more and more universities, and of course with Carla and other friends in the United States of America. So I think we are now approaching our question and answer session, and if we could look at what are some of the questions that have actually been posed, and we shall open it up to the panelists. All right. So, okay, there's one question here I hope all our panelists can see this question. All right. The presence of international students advance, to what extent the presence of international students advance the academic mission of that institution. All right. So, okay, if we have looked at the question, I shall open now to our panelists to perhaps respond to the question.
Dr. Z, I'll go ahead and jump in on this one. Speaking from the perspective of U.S. institutions, I think international students are critical to our academic mission. It's very common these days that mission statements and vision statements for institutions include the term global citizens. Our goal is to create global citizens, students and graduates who are able to not only perform in their chosen discipline or field, but who are culturally competent and able to interact with people from different countries, different backgrounds, different cultures. And as much as we would hope that we can send all of our students to get a study abroad experience to gain that perspective, we know that that's not realistic. And so international students who are on our campus provide that global viewpoint for students who maybe haven't traveled or may not have the opportunity to travel. And so I think it's extremely crucial that we have international students, and not just students, but a diverse array of students. We want all areas of the world represented to sort of bring those perspectives into the classroom.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. If the other panelists want to contribute to this question.
I'm already retired, so I don't have any more international students.
Yeah.
But Carla is right. Having international students actually lends vibrancy to the campus. I remember that during the summer at Ohio University, all the American students have gone home, and the campus was only filled with students from China, students from Malaysia, students from India. And so the campus was ours during the summer. So having international students actually broadens the mind of the local students. And I think this is the way to go. And let's hope, God willing, that the pandemic will soon be over, will soon be overcome. We have our herd immunity, and that all international students can come back to campus, and especially for our first year students. I have my niece who is in her first year university and has never been on campus. So I think being on campus is a very, very important part of being a student. And mixing with international students, like Carla said, it's an important part of being a global citizen. And those are all 21st century skills that students now must have. And I think Dr. Andre is one person who epitomizes this very well. And we hope, Dr. Andre, I remember that you wanted to be, you're going into politics. So inshallah, maybe 10, 20 years from now, we have President Yuli Andre from UiTM. So we'll be very, very proud. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So international students, to what extent? A very large extent. I won't give a mathematics figure to it. Maybe we leave that to Dr. Rosia Jano, because she's a mathematician, not me. I'm a language person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Carla and Prof. Habiba. And in fact, maybe to Dr. Andre just a bit to stretch that. Perhaps, Dr. Andre, we know that currently in Indonesia, with the new Minister of Higher Education, right? In a very recent what we call initiative called Campus MERDEKA, and asking all the universities to actually become more and more globalized and sending out students and so forth. So maybe Dr. Andre, can you share a bit, that initiative and seeing it from that angle on the spirit of that Campus MERDEKA plan.
Yeah, Dr. Zainab, it's very important. Before I answer about the Campus MERDEKA, it's very important how to be. Now is technology make not only about our people blended. That is a global citizen is a very, very what we call it. If I went to New York, something like my ethnic or India ethnic, maybe it's like something like have the culture like what do you call it, a sing, like something like sing. But when I showed the concert, he told I'm New Yorker. It's something like, is this global citizen? We know it's India, it's Indonesia, it's Malay, it's what do you call it, culture and everything. It's very important. The global citizen, we make something we feel the same. the international students very important. If you want to find it about the knowledge or the skill, we can now what I call it, open the technology or something, YouTube and everything. But the character, the acculturation, the culture is very important. That's why the international student community makes something like how to be a leader in themselves is very important. That's the point. And talk about the Campus Merdeka in Indonesia. Indonesia is something in Merdeka is independent, you know. And Merdeka is something like, you know, we cannot stay at class, something like discussion, hear the lecturer, and something like focus group discussion, and many. And very important is about the Campus Merdeka or Independence, the campus is something like you have to collaboration with the practical, something like, you know, the entrepreneur or of the what you call everything, the professional join with the campus. It is very important. Before this, the Indonesia is something like lecture series with discussion about the concept, about the theory, about the everything. Now you have to be practical. You have to know is very important. If you have the data, the real data is about the practitioner with the expert, with the professional. It's very important. That's called the Campus Merdeka. That's why our minister said it's very important. No, we did not talk about the state class only, but have to collaboration. What a millennial your people say is collaboration. It's very important. That's the point they called a Campus Merdeka. That's why the Campus Merdeka, you have to go to professional, you have to get something, get the credit, maybe 5 credits semester or 6 credit, every subject or every curriculum we can combine. It's important. Not only you have to go to the class, you have to fingerprint or something, get attendance, but you have to go another the real professional issue. You have to get also the attendance of the what do you call it? Attendance. That's why the Dr. Azena.
Yeah, and because we are seeing more and more universities in Indonesia championing Campus Merdeka, including putting in the element of student mobility or study abroad, you know, for the exposure. So they are connected to what Dr. Andre mentioned about, you know, outside organizations, industries, and so forth. Yeah, right. Perhaps Prof. Hada, if you want to add on?
This is still on the question of having foreign students in campus. What is the effect? Yes, of course, it is something undeniable, because being in the tertiary education means that you are in the verge of being a full functioning member of the society. In a few years to come, you will be out there running whatever it is that you're doing, your company or your office, or maybe at the higher levels, at the more exposed level, at the global. So if at the university we are not having foreign students or members of the world in our campus, then it will definitely be detrimental to the development, because during university years, this is the formative years, the way your thoughts are being formed, the way your outlook is being gelled out. So having exposure to other cultures, having exposure to other people will only be beneficial, enhancement of our graduates' attributes. I remember when I was 18, I was sent out to do my A-levels in the UK, and I was only one of 2 foreign students in that school. And of course, it was daunting for me, but actually I remember my headmistress was saying that the presence of 2 Malaysian students in our school totally enriched that school in a way that it gives them a gentler introduction to the outside world. They get to see it in their own protective environment first, rather than they've not seen it before and suddenly they're thrust out there and then they don't know how to respond. So yes, definitely having foreign students or having members from other parts of the world to be in our campus is definitely beneficial, particularly in forming the well-rounded graduates that we desire to have.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Prof. Hada. And we take note of that because when the majority of students, as Carla mentioned, not able to travel due to economic hardship and financial constraint, perhaps, having at the minimum 2 or probably more of international students will actually give them that exposure on what we call internationalization at home in that, and students do not have to travel and so forth. And so in other words, we're just bringing the world to them would be the direction. Okay, let us see if there's any more questions in the pigeonhole. All right, so, okay. Now, funding, all right, so I'm not sure how, maybe from different universities. So funding for international mobility for students and staff, how to sustain. So here it's asking about, funding and we heard earlier about doing more with less. What does that mean? What is that actually telling us today in this, in this crisis, in this context, so how do we actually sustain funding for international mobility, right? Carla, would you like to start first?
Sure. I mean, this is, I think, a challenging issue and question for many universities. I think, we never have as much in the way of resources as we would like when it comes to being able to encourage mobility with students and staff. But I think this can come down to really program design and knowing what our students need and trying to be creative, and if that means, designing short-term programs that maybe are non-credit, that take that credit, the cost of that credit out of the program, that may open up the possibility for additional students to have that mobility experience. Looking at exchange, and I think the one-to-one exchange traditional model may not work for everyone, but I think there are creative ways to incorporate faculty teaching and different types of resource exchange to make it possible for students to be involved in those relationships as well. But then also, we work, very hard at Miami University to stay engaged with our alumni who want to know how they can help. And so scholarships for students are something that we present to our alumni when they're asking how they can help and make studying abroad and getting that global experience a little more accessible to students. So I don't think there's one answer. I think it's a combination of trying to be creative and innovative and coming up with different ways to help the students who need it.
Oh yeah, in fact, in the context of the pandemic today also, like we're doing more with less because it has pretty much reduced that, technology and leverage on virtual engagements, virtual classrooms, virtual activities that students can actually do. So yeah, that's what Carla said. And I think it's a very challenging way of looking at it in terms of, funding. And I'm not sure, maybe Dr. Andre in Indonesia, is the issue of funding or is it's because of that new championing campus MERDEKA and, funding or is that not an issue at all? Yeah.
Yeah, talk about the fundings, always is what I call it.
Yeah.
The creative of the people or the student to find it, because what in my our country, especially Indonesia, we have the what they call it, a program about that what they call it, LPDP, something like the government in under Minister of Finance give the student who is the productive and creative, and we have the something the talent pool, how to get the funding. Another side, our like Minister of the Education have also maybe something like short course, or the prominent students we wants to get the funding. But now in the pandemic, I think it's very different in my side, because with my era in UiTM, have to mobilities, high mobility, I have to back to Jakarta and Padang and everything and everywhere. Now it's very economical, I think. We can do something with the technology, and then also the lecture also like this, and conference also something like that. I think is what I call it is depend on the student, Zainab, because sometimes the situation make it something like we have to be creative about that. What Dr. Carla said, I think is many program also, and Indonesia is many not only about the government, because and then the corporate also, we have to something like, you know, the like new company like startup. Digital is many what do you call it, CSR community for that. It's depend on the student how to what do you call it, struggling to find the information is very important. That's the Dr. Zainab.
Yeah, so there's challenges, and at the same time the opportunities to be tested in terms of creativity. Very much welcome. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with Carla and Dr. Andre on their views about this. Funding is a tricky business. If Tun Arshad Ayub were here today, I think I know what he will say, because I have heard him talk so many times during each convocation. He would be after each convocation, because he would be conferring the scrolls to the students, he would be giving some motivational speech to the graduates. And one of the things that the challenges that he always threw at the students were, now that you are an alumni of UiTM, the place where you have become enriched with knowledge, enriched with experience, now it's time for you to contribute back to UiTM. And he said, it's not much. You do not need to give us hundreds of ringgit. Maybe you just 10 ringgit per person, per month, even if you want. Because we have close to 1 million alumni of UiTM in the whole of Malaysia and away. If one alumnus give us 1 ringgit a month, even, we have that extra million in our budget to spend on things that would benefit the current students, and that can be self-amplified when the new students come in, or the new graduates roll out of the university. So I think we do hear about very, very generous alumni of huge universities giving back to the place where they were studying. And that is one of the sources of income to support activities such as international student mobility. Number 2, as Dr. Andre was saying, the students have to be creative. Where there is a will, there is a way. If you desire, for example, to spend 3 or 4 months abroad, I'm sure there would be, if you are creative enough, you would be able to get some kind of financial assistance from corporate bodies, not small, if not the big ones, get small ones. There are so many corporate bodies out there who are looking at ways on how they could contribute, but nobody came knocking at their door. They just don't realize that they could contribute. So I think creativity of the students, creativity of university, at the university level, we probably could siphon out some of our resources for this very, very precious experience that we could give to our students for them to spend abroad. But we do have endowment mobility fund for students, mobility fund for staff. We do have to a certain extent. And because of the size of the fund, it's not too big. We cannot give too much per person, but we do have that. And this funding is called endowment funding. And yeah, we can get topping up into that piggy bank through the alumni, through companies, through people who believe in our mission. And it is very important for us to sell our image, a good image of UiTM, so people, philanthropists can, feel confident in giving into our institution. I think that is very, very important. And visibility. So visibility is highly relevant for this reason.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Ada. Prof. Bip, if you want to add anything, if not, I will move on to. Yeah. All right. So I think perhaps in a couple more minutes, just some parting words from our panelists. If I can begin with Professor Dr. Habibah Ashari, please. Oh, yeah. Oh, I think that's for Professor Habibah. Actually, there are more questions suddenly. I thought it was only one. Right. Besides teaching at OU, what are the aspects of Tun Abdul Razak Chair's responsibilities, and someone who's very interested and someone wants to know, when I get there, what do I do besides teaching?
Okay, of course, as a professor, you will have to teach. So we taught, or rather I taught 2 courses, Focus on Malaysia and the Tun Abdul Razak seminar. So that's a teaching aspect. The other part that you have to do is to do research. As a professor, you certainly continue to do your research in whatever area that you are comfortable with in order to maintain your professorship. But the other fun thing, at least to me, is to do the outreach programs for Ohio University as well as for the universities around the US. You do outreach programs, you promote Malaysia, you promote the government of the day, of course. You talk about Malaysia. For example, I was invited to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And I was invited to speak about Malaysian culture, Malaysian politics, Malaysian geography, do's and don'ts, in the Malay culture, in Malaysian culture. For example, don't shake hands with women, take off your shoes when you enter a house, point with your thumb instead of your forefinger, etc. So this was a lecture for the Pacific Command military personnel who was supposed to go to Japan, Asia, China, Southeast Asia. So that was a very good invitation, I thought, to talk about Malaysia and also the surrounding areas of Singapore and Indonesia and Thailand. And I was also invited to give a talk at Lehigh University, at Rochester Institute of Technology, at Michigan University, sometimes with the, most of the time with the local communities and also with the Malaysian students. So you have to really be on top of the information about Malaysia, because at any time people might want to know what Malaysia is all about. What can I do in Malaysia? What is Malaysia's speciality? I was also invited for a radio talk on at the radio station at Ohio University. And for that matter, let me digress a little bit and talk about the radio station in, I think it's WOUB. Actually, Tuan Arshad Ayo at one time, I think in the early 70s, visited the School of Communication in Ohio University. He was walking around and he saw the studio and he said, "Hey, what's that?" And the person who was accompanying him said, "Oh, that's a radio station in, of the university." And lo and behold, he came back to Malaysia and he created the radio station at the School of Mass Communication. So by chance, you walk along the corridor, you saw a radio station and you say, "Hey, I want this in my own university." So for those of you in Mass Comm, that is the history of the formation of your radio station in UiTM. I can't remember what the FM is, 93.6 or something. So the fun activities were what I enjoyed most. And I had a lot of support from Ohio University. When you talk about funding, I brought, as I said, Razak Muhyiddin to the campus. I didn't have any money. So there was an Arts for Ohio grant. And I wrote in and I got the grant. And I was able to fly in Razak Muhyiddin, albeit on economy class, and funded his stay here, funded his flight to the US, and that was really a great thing to have done. And then other professors also came to Ohio University at that time. Professor Soleha and Professor Dr. Wan Aida and the late Dr. Mazalida Hamzah came, and we organized the Artistic Interspaces of Malaysia Festival, a symposium. So there were panel speakers that spoke about Malaysia, people who have been to Malaysia, American citizens who've been to Malaysia and who have had a lot of a benefit and experience and enriching experience by being in Malaysia, just like Carla. And Malaysia, I hope not anymore, at Ohio University is considered, at the international office, it's off the beaten track. When you talk about summer programs, summer abroad programs, language program, etc., Malaysia is off the beaten track. And what does that mean? Students want to go to Florence, Italy. Students want to go to Spain. Students want to go to South America, maybe, but not to Malaysia. So I think UiTM, through UiTM Global, have done a lot of advertisement, have done a lot of programs with our inbound students from the US, from China, from UK, from Morocco, to come to UiTM. And that is one of the things that is extremely very good. I don't know, am I digressing? So there are a lot of responsibilities. I'll come back to two more. The other thing that you have to organize is the Distinguished Tun Abdul Razak Lecture. And that is one of the events that happened in Malaysia. So I was involved in the 9th, which featured the late Dr. Surin Pitsiwan. I love him, may he rest in peace. He was a great man. And the next lecture, which was in 2018, was by Professor John Sabra, and it was about toxic waste to art. So Distinguished Tun Abdul Razak Lecture are held in Malaysia every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on whether there is a chair or not. And I think that's a good way of keeping the chair alive. So Ministry of Higher Education, please, again, I appeal to you. Let's now appoint the next, the 16th Tun Abdul Razak chair. I have not, I don't tire talking and appealing to the minister to appoint the next Tun Abdul Razak chair. So a lot of responsibilities. But one thing is you have to promote. You have to promote yourself. You have to be your own PR person, actually. And you know how I like to talk. I like to meet people. So I was quite a good promoter of myself. And since I'm not on social media, so I don't use social media to promote myself. So I use the normal channels. And I don't want to be on social media, unfortunately. But fortunately, maybe. So lots of responsibilities, but you have to enjoy yourself. You know, I enjoyed every bit of my activities in Malaysia, and Carla was a great help to me at the beginning of my stay there. And then she left to go to Miami. So,
thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're left with 2 more minutes. So are there any more questions? If not, I think I'm just going to go to, okay, I think the questions later we can pick up there. I'm going to very quickly now wrap up the program so then that, you know, we are okay with the timing. So just very quickly going around to all our panelists, some parting words in terms of what we have discussed, the MERDEKA voices, the internationalization, the global footprints of UiTM, and of course, the way of how we can move forward. So perhaps I think we'll allow our colleague or panelists, you know, from the United States of America. I know it's almost midnight there, Carla, so please do the honor there.
Thank you. And yes, I am getting a little bit tired, but I'm very glad to be able to be with you tonight. You know, and in terms of thinking forward, I think if there's anything that we have learned, you know, this past year through this pandemic is, you know, that we're all in this together, that, you know, the future is a global future, and the problems that we are facing in terms of climate change and global health are challenges that we have to tackle together. And I think, you know, we have such an advantage to work in the area of higher education, where we can leverage that knowledge and those specialists to really work together to help identify solutions moving forward. So I just commend UiTM on focusing on internationalization. It's something that we're trying to do as well. You know, and we wish you all the best and a very happy MERDEKA. And if there is any collaboration that we can assist with, we would be very glad to do so.
Thank you very much, Carla. So from the United States, we will fly to Jakarta, Indonesia, for Dr. Andre. Yeah, your parting words, Dr. Andre.
Thank you, Dr. Zainab, especially Prof. Hadaria, to invite me here, and all my colleagues, new colleagues, Prof. Abibah, Dr. Carla. Hopefully we can meet again, especially in Jakarta, if the pandemic will be finished, hopefully. Thank you, Jaya MERDEKA. Success for the UiTM, selalu di hati.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andre. So, you know, closer to home, and we're back home from Indonesia. So with 2 of our Malaysian panelists, so Prof. Dr. Habibah first, and then I'll pass it over to Prof. Hada for the parting remarks and the closing remarks in a while. Prof. Habibah?
Thank you very much, Dr. Zainab. I would like to wish UiTM 22nd birthday as a university, and UiTM selalu di hatiku, and all the best in our journey to become the globally renowned university. Also, congratulations to UiTM Global under the leadership of Prof. Hadaria, who continuously, you guys continuously organize events, international events like this. It's like every month or every few weeks, you know, there's an event from UiTM Global. So congratulations. And I would also like to wish Malaysia, Malaysians, friends of Malaysia, happy MERDEKA and happy Hari Malaysia on September 16th. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Habibah. All right, so we'll move on to our last panelist, Prof. Hadaria, for your, you know, closing remarks or
Thank you.
some last words. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zainab. I would really like to thank from the bottom of my heart Dr. Carla Gwini Gundo, who has, stayed up until midnight to be with us. Truly significant affiliation to UiTM. Thank you very much. Also to Dr. Andre, who has generously given his time. I believe this is the time you told me that you ought to be flying from Jakarta to somewhere, and then you canceled your flight just to, to honor the invitation from your alma mater. So thank you very much, Dr. Andre. To Prof. Bib, thank you very much, Prof. Bib, for always supporting our events. I know you're saying almost every month, but when I am doing my monthly reporting to the executive board of UiTM, every single month we have more than 30 activities that I report. So that's practically one a day. And yeah. I have all my beautiful and hardworking people of UiTM Global to thank for this. We have 3 departments in UiTM Global: the Department of International Affairs headed by the director, none other than Dr. Zainab, and we have the Department of Strategic Partnership headed by the director, Professor Nakiuddin, and we have the Department of Ranking headed by the director, Dr. Amirul. These are the people who have tirelessly, work. And I think our main aim in UiTM Global is to promote the visibility of UiTM. Of course, we can't do it alone. We have our strong support from all the members of the faculties of UiTM. We have 27 faculty centers of excellence and so on and so forth. We work with them. We work with these wonderful people who truly love UiTM. We all love UiTM, I think, and this is how we show our appreciation to UiTM. Of course, the flavor of any event from UiTM Global would be internationalization. So thank you again, the hardworking people of UiTM Global. I know you have really worked very hard for this event, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for all the audience. I think at the maximum we have close to 200 audience at YouTube today. So thank you for being here with us to, celebrate this wonderful odyssey of UiTM in our global arena. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hadaria. So once again, thank you all participants, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all our panelists. We hope to see you again soon. So Carla, have a nice evening, and dream about us and dream about UiTM. And of course, to Dr. Andre, thank you once again, taking you away from your very busy schedule. And of course, Prof. Habiba, as always, no doubt she keeps mentioning that she's retired, but we will always make her tired. Yeah. So that's very key. So bye everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Good night, Carla. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Dr. Z. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.